We're here with Dominic Emery, a Managing Director at Raymond James. Dominic, you're head of the Technology and Services Investment Banking Division in the London office for Raymond James. That's a very broad category. What specifically are you looking for in the language services industry?
So the areas that are particularly interesting for us are the increasing use of technology, and in particular in language, where that helps with workflows, helps with automation, helps with efficiency, and ultimately those things are all found in platforms that can be used to reduce the human requirement in translation. A number of different ways that problem is being solved across the industry, and that's really the area of focus that we find of most interest for us.
Okay. But as an investment bank, you represent both the buy and sell side in these transactions, and where technology may come into play as well as a benefit. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the key considerations perhaps for someone who's thinking of employing M&A as a buy-side growth strategy?
There's a number of reasons why you would look at making acquisitions for growth strategy, and they really fall into two camps. Either people who are in the industry at the moment, vendors of language and translation solutions, who need new capabilities. Perhaps they lack the ability to develop technology themselves, and acquiring increased capability around automation, workflow management are things that they need to acquire. Or it might be that they have specific capabilities. They need better access to enterprise customers, and that's a particular skill set that you need in a sales force, or where you need reference customers to accelerate those parts of your strategy. So those are areas where people might think about M&A if they're already in the industry. Increasingly, we're finding much broader vendors of technology solutions are focused on the problems of language and localization, where language is a big part. And for those people, the only way to access this industry and build those capabilities, and I'm thinking particularly broader technology vendors, systems integrators, those sorts of often large and global concerns, the only way to access this industry is through acquisition. And the broader reach that my practice has gives us access to those people as well, which is helpful when considering M&A processes.
I see, okay. And so then if a company is perhaps approached or considering selling itself to perhaps a strategic partner or one of these other technology companies, what are some of the considerations that they should have before entering that process?
There's a lot of them, and you need to take into account considerations of all stakeholders, and that's a management team, that's the owners of a business, and it's also about customers and employees and people who really drive value in businesses. So the first part of any process and the first part of preparation is engaging with those stakeholders and understanding their requirements. Not all stakeholder requirements carry equal weighting, but it's understanding why they want to engage in M&A. Is it about the longevity of the business, new capabilities, or is it just about liquidity and maximising valuation? And those things don't necessarily always go hand in hand. So the first stage is understanding why people would want to engage in M&A. And once you have that understanding, you can start to put together a strategy for them around an M&A program, either selling a business or on the buy side, businesses that you might think about buying that fit that strategy. Okay, so
Once you have a buyer and a seller coming together and talking, what are some of the determinants of valuation in a final transaction?
Number one determinant is growth, and that is viewed with two lenses. The first is the growth of a business that it would achieve on a standalone basis, and particularly when you're thinking about financial investors in this sector, that is the focus that they will have.
Organic growth.
Organic growth. And organic growth doesn't come at any cost, or doesn't come without cost rather. So the second question is, how are you funding that growth? And it's therefore understanding the value of the customers, and that comes back to the customer proposition. So those considerations really get bundled in together. For a strategic buyer, they might be able to look at a business irrespective of its standalone potential. So in the example where a very large global vendor of broader technology services, for example, is thinking about entering the language services and technology ecosystem, they might already have a very large sales infrastructure which can do more with an automation platform in this space.
Yes.
And so their ability to impact the growth will allow them to take a slightly different view on the business's potential and therefore its value.
Okay, so I guess it's the configuration that might multiply or add or inflate the value beyond what might be coming from organic growth. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.